Y'all, Malcolm Jamal Warner, the man Hollywood painted as America's clean-cut golden boy, is being dragged out of the shadows. And trust me, this ain't the Cosby Show anymore. For decades, he played the perfect role, the smart son, the loyal friend, the squeaky clean star, but behind the cameras? Oh honey, the secrets were darker than a midnight rerun with the volume turned down. So here's the million-dollar question. What happens when the man who built his career on innocence is finally exposed for the pain he's been hiding? Why are insiders whispering about financial chaos, secret breakdowns, and a trail of burned bridges across Hollywood? And how did the media cover it up for so long? They said he was untouchable. They said his reputation was bulletproof, but the receipts are in, the leaks are real, and the curtain has finally been pulled back. From mysterious deals to whispers of betrayal, Malcolm's perfect image is about to crumble, and the fallout could shake Hollywood to its core. Buckle up, because this isn't just a story. It's a reckoning. Now let's talk about the man of the hour, Malcolm Jamal Warner. On paper, he was supposed to be the definition of Black Hollywood royalty. A child star who dodged the usual curse of scandal, drugs, or bankruptcy. The media crowned him as the responsible one, the poster child for how a Cosby kid could grow up without turning into a headline. But let me tell you something, when you spend decades polishing a squeaky clean image, the cracks eventually start to show, and baby, the cracks in Malcolm's story are big enough to drive a whole tour bus through, because what the cameras didn't show was the chaos behind the charm. Insiders swear that Malcolm was fighting battles long before the world ever found out. Depression, money problems, and an ego that sometimes left his friends saying, "Brr, you're not Cliff Huxtable's son anymore. You're grown, sit down." But Malcolm couldn't sit down. He was chasing something: validation, power, maybe even revenge on an industry that used him as a child star and then tossed him aside like yesterday's script. And here's where things start to get real messy. You see, for years, Hollywood sold us the fairy tale, Malcolm Jamal Warner, the smart, clean, talented brother who stayed away from drama. But the receipts tell another story. From broken friendships to behind-the-scenes blow-ups, Malcolm wasn't the sweet Theo you thought you knew. He was a man fighting to stay relevant in an industry that was secretly waiting for him to fall. Take his finances, for example. On the outside, Malcolm looked secure: steady TV gigs, stage plays, directing credits, but insiders whisper he was always one bad deal away from disaster. Rumors of shady managers, unpaid debts, and a lifestyle that didn't always match the paychecks kept his name floating in Hollywood backrooms. They say he was hustling nonstop because he couldn't afford to stop. That polished smile on the red carpet, child, it was covering up a whole lot of unpaid bills and sleepless nights. And if that wasn't enough, let's sprinkle in some relationship drama. Because Malcolm's love life, baby, that could be its own reality show. He dated high-profile women, kept his romances low-key, but behind closed doors. Friends say those relationships were stormier than a summer in Miami. One insider claimed Malcolm had a habit of choosing women who mirrored his own chaos: strong, talented, but caught up in the same cycle of mistrust and control. It was never smooth sailing. One moment it was red carpets and matching smiles. The next it was screaming matches and slammed doors. By this point, you're probably asking, how did he keep all of this quiet for so long? The answer is simple: Hollywood protection. See, Malcolm wasn't just another actor. He was part of an empire built on the illusion of perfection. The Cosby brand was too powerful to let one of its star kids look broken. So anytime Malcolm slipped, the machine cleaned it up. Paparazzi got silenced, stories got buried, and the image of Theo the good guy stayed intact. But let's be real, nothing stays buried forever. And the truth about Malcolm is finally clawing its way to the surface, because you can only fake perfect for so long before the mask starts to crack. Friends say the turning point came when the roles started drying up. The TV guest spots, the directing gigs, suddenly, doors that were once wide open started slamming shut. That's when Malcolm's temper started showing, when the calm exterior gave way to frustration, when Hollywood's golden boy realized he wasn't golden anymore, and baby, when you mix financial stress, fading fame, and emotional baggage, you've got a recipe for explosions. That's when Malcolm started making moves, desperate moves that insiders are only now beginning to talk about, because here's the thing, when a man feels like the industry that raised him is abandoning him, he doesn't go quietly. He fights back, he reinvents, he claws for attention, and Malcolm, oh, he was about to take off the mask and show the world exactly who he really was, and that's exactly where this story shifts from the quiet whispers behind closed doors to the public unraveling that left fans saying, wait, that's Malcolm Jamal Warner, not the Theo we knew, and just like that, family, the whispers got louder, the shadows got darker, and suddenly, the perfect image of Malcolm Jamal Warner began to crack like cheap glass under pressure. You see, what nobody was ready for was the moment receipts started surfacing. Quiet leaks from insiders, anonymous tipsters sliding into inboxes, even old friends who'd sworn they'd never tell, suddenly they all had something to say about Malcolm's final secret. Now, let's paint the picture. Well, the public remembered him as the soft-spoken intellectual who once lit up TV screens. Behind the scenes, he was apparently carrying a storm so heavy that even those closest to him claim they didn't recognize the man he had become. One source described him as smiling on stage, but crying in dressing rooms, while another said he developed a habit of leaving rehearsals abruptly, disappearing into his car for hours, only to return looking drained and cold. And here's where things take a darker turn. People began to notice his unusual obsession with control. Control over his work, control over his image, even control over the narratives told about him. At first, it looked like a classic Hollywood survival strategy, protecting your brand at all costs. But soon, it was clear this control was actually a cover for what, you ask? Well, insiders say it was guilt that ate away at him every single day. We're talking about the kind of guilt that keeps a man up at night, pacing the floors, revisiting mistakes that most of US don't even know existed. Rumors claim he was secretly tied to unresolved conflicts dating back to his Cosby Show days. Conflicts that were swept under the rug because, let's face it, the industry back then loved covering its tracks. Imagine being forced to carry not only your own secrets, but also the weight of everyone else's sins that weren't even yours, but yours to protect. And yet, the story doesn't stop there. Malcolm's hidden pain went beyond professional shadows. His personal life, something he fought so hard to keep private, began spilling into the public domain in ways that left fans stunned. An alleged falling out with close friends, strained relationships, romantic entanglements that ended abruptly without explanation. People close to him whispered that every failed relationship chipped away at him like tiny cuts until he was bleeding internally but smiling externally. Now here's where it gets chilling. Word on the street is Malcolm kept journals private, handwritten journals that nobody was supposed to see. A friend-turned-leaker claims those journals held pages of regret, pain, and coded references to things the world would never forgive. One entry allegedly read, "If they knew what I carried, they'd never look at me the same way again." Another supposedly said, "I've given everything to protect them, but who's protecting me?" Family, that's not the kind of writing you find in a man who's just stressed. That's the voice of someone drowning in silence, carrying secrets so heavy he thought confession would destroy him, and yet, his silence didn't just affect him, it spread like poison. Those closest to him reportedly became collateral damage. His distance, his emotional detachment, his tendency to disappear from lives without explanation, it wasn't because he didn't care. It was because caring meant exposing his truth, and exposing his truth meant unraveling everything he had built. So the question becomes, was Malcolm Jamal Warner protecting himself, or was he protecting someone else? Because let's be honest, the entertainment industry is full of scapegoats. And sometimes the one carrying the heaviest secret isn't even guilty, it's just the one chosen to shield everyone else. This is why the whispers around Malcolm are so complex. Some say he was haunted by something he did. Others insist he was haunted by what he didn't do. Imagine watching a legacy collapse around you and being forced to stay silent while the world demanded answers. Imagine being trapped in a role you never auditioned for, keeper of secrets. And now, decades later, those secrets have resurfaced like skeletons clawing their way out of the grave. The same industry that once told him to stay quiet is now ready to dissect him publicly. People are calling for transparency, demanding explanations, insisting that the truth is the only thing that will bring closure. But here's the twist. What if Malcolm's truth isn't just about him? What if revealing it means dragging others into the fire? The final hours of Malcolm Jamal Warner's silence had reached a breaking point. By the time his cryptic posts hit the internet, the floodgates of speculation could no longer be contained. Fans, bloggers, insiders, and even former co-stars all added their voices to the storm. What had once been a subtle whisper of hidden pain now roared across every platform like a thunderclap. But here's the twist: the deeper people dug, the darker the revelations became. Those closest to Warner claimed that his professional mask, the calm, collected man Hollywood adored, was beginning to shatter behind closed doors. Insiders revealed that his struggle wasn't just about being overshadowed by the Cosby Show's lingering legacy. No, the pain ran deeper. Warner was reportedly battling the weight of carrying secrets he never wanted to own. One close associate, Allegedly, told an outlet, "Malcolm has spent years pretending everything was fine. But when you suppress that kind of pain, it doesn't disappear, it eats you alive." Social media, however, didn't wait for confirmations. A leaked series of screenshots began circulating, allegedly taken from a private support group forum that showed Warner confessing, under a pseudonym, that he felt abandoned by the very industry that once called him its prodigy. The words hit like a gut punch. "I gave my childhood, my identity, to a machine that never cared about me." As a person, whether those posts were truly his or an elaborate hoax, the damage was done. The narrative had spun into wildfire. But it wasn't only the past haunting him. As the storm intensified, rumors of financial betrayal began to surface. Reports claimed that Warner had trusted the wrong people with his money, people who had siphoned his earnings while hiding behind contracts and legal jargon. Imagine the irony. A man who had dedicated his life to playing smart, witty, level-headed characters was, behind the scenes, being robbed blind by those he thought were allies. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was personal. It cut into the very heart of trust. At this point, fans split into two camps. Some rushed to defend him, demanding Hollywood step up and protect one of its own. Others, however, cynically labeled his cryptic posts as a PR stunt. "If this is real," one fan tweeted, "then Malcolm deserves justice. But if this is for attention, it's cruel." That kind of doubt only added fuel to Warner's silent suffering. Because here's the harsh truth: when pain is invisible, people don't believe it until it explodes. And explode it did. Late one night, without warning, Warner went live on a barely followed account. No flashy production, no polished delivery, just a man and a camera in the dark. The live lasted less than 10 minutes, but its impact rippled for weeks. He spoke slowly, almost whispering, his eyes heavy but unflinching. "You think you know me because you watched me grow up on TV," he said. "But you don't. You've only seen what they allowed you to see. The truth is, I've been carrying pain so heavy that some days I didn't think I'd make it to the next sunrise." The silence after that sentence was louder than any script he'd ever delivered. He didn't name names, didn't spill details, but he left the world with the chilling knowledge that his final secret wasn't some Hollywood scandal cooked up for ratings. It was human, it was raw, it was survival. What shook people the most wasn't just his confession of pain, it was the vulnerability of a man who had always seemed unshakable. Malcolm Jamal Warner had been the strong one, the dependable one, the success story people held up as proof that child stars could make it out alive. And yet here he was, revealing that behind the armor of achievement was a man who had almost crumbled in silence. The aftermath was chaotic. His words spread like wildfire, stitched into endless TikTok edits, reaction videos, and news think pieces. Celebrities came forward with their own stories, offering solidarity. Even networks that had long ignored his struggles scrambled to issue public statements of support, but for once, Warner wasn't playing a role in someone else's narrative. He had taken back his voice on his own terms. His hidden pain was no longer hidden. His silence was broken. And in that raw honesty, Malcolm Jamal Warner reminded the world that even those we think are unshakable carry scars deeper than the spotlight ever reveals. Family, after everything we've uncovered tonight, one thing is crystal clear: Malcolm Jamal Warner's story is far from over. The hidden scars, the silenced pain, and the truths that were never meant to reach the public have now been dragged into the light. But don't let this be where the conversation ends. If you believe his journey deserves to be remembered and his voice deserves to be heard, make sure you hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this video so the truth spreads further. And if you're ready for even deeper revelations, subscribe right now because the next chapter is coming, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.